29 minutes to go. "28 minutes to go. "27 minutes to go. "26 minutes to go. "25 minutes to go. 24 minutes to go. 23 minutes to go. 22 minutes to go. 21 minutes to go. 20 minutes to go. 19 minutes to go. 18 minutes to go. 17 minutes to go. 16 minutes to go. Fifteen minutes to go. 14 minutes to go. 13 minutes to go. 12 minutes to go. 11 minutes to go. 10 minutes to go. 9 minutes to go. 8 minutes to go. 7 minutes to go. 6 minutes to go. 5 minutes to go. 4 minutes to go. Three minutes to go. Two minutes to go. One minute to go. Thirty seconds to go. Ten seconds to go. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
First, let me begin by saying it's great to be a Detroit Lion. I believe the time is now. Not 2 years or 3 years from now, down the road somewhere, but right here, right now.
He dives in for the touchdown. Did he get it? Yes, sir, he did. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Matthew took it across. And the Lions have taken the lead with 12 seconds to go.
There's one goal here, and one promise I made to Mrs. Ford is winning. If we can get one step better every day, that's putting this organization in the right direction.
Matthews got it, gives to Abdullah, right side, got a hole, Abdullah 20, Abdullah 10, 6 a man at the 8, and dances into the end zone, touchdown Detroit Lions!
Lions fans, it's time for the podcast you've been waiting for. The Detroit Lions Podcast Postgame Show with your hosts, Chris and Case.
Hey, howdy-ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions Podcast. This is the live post-game show, and it's the official Detroit Lions Podcast for Reddit. I'm your dashing host, Chris, and with me is my good friend and co-host, Case. How are you doing, my man? No Case?
Nope.
Who's this?
Oh.
Sandman! Everyone's favorite highlight, slow light, every light master. Sandman. He's joining us today. He's on the show. We will be joined by Case a little bit later. He had some minor emergencies going on that he had to take care of. But got a lot to talk about. We're going to do a roundtable discussion. We're going to be taking your calls. And we're going to talk about one of the craziest games we've probably ever seen since the Joey Harrington years. You ready to go, Sandman?
I am. I'm not excited to go, but I'm here to go.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
All right, a couple of quick announcements. First, make sure to check us out and help us out on the old Patreon, patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast, or just go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com and click on the Patreon link. We're going to give out special thanks to Dylan from
Guam,
Michael, Matt, Eric, Joel the Muff Muncher, and Joel not the Muff Muncher, Nick, Noodle, Jeffrey, Brendan, Benjamin, Justin, Ross, John, Matthew, Morgan, Alex D. Missed you a couple times there, buddy. Sorry about that. Randy, Peter, Matt G, Kalen, Scott, Greg, Lucas, Richard, David, Bryce, Chuck Nasty, Fight Me, Case, Mike K, Floundericious, Rack, Zach, Ryan, Gina, got that right. Miak had that one right the whole time. Malcolm, Dan, and of course, our very first donor, Mathis. Also want to call out our newest patrons, Zandy Lion, Gary, Peter Von Panda, Skylar, Mario, Lucas, Tim, Nicholas, Jesse, Pilo, and Brian B., the singer from I Prevail. Make sure to check them out at iprevail.com. Great stuff there. All right. Don't forget to give us a like on Facebook, facebook.com/The Detroit Lions Podcast. I'm having a hard time talking. Facebook.com/The Detroit Lions Podcast. And check us out on Twitter at
with no pants on.
That's right. DET Lions Podcast with no pants on. Make sure to rate us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you find us. We love those reviews. And don't forget, it's going to be time to call now that the announcements are done.
This is no time for a quick release. We're going deep.
All right. This is a game that has about 150 different angles to talk about. I'm going to let you go ahead and start with one now, Sandman, and you can pick any angle you want because there's just too many to talk about.
Oh, there's so many angles. So many angles. Well, I think we're going to start with the most obvious one then, if it's my choice. This offense is horrible. It's so bad that I can't even believe what I'm watching. This is like 2004 bad, 2003 bad. You know, this is not what we came to expect with a quarterback like Stafford and with the weapons, you know, quote-unquote weapons that we have. It's hard to watch this and not think that there's something inherently wrong here. And I think that what's inherently wrong here is Jim Bob Cooter.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about that in the Reddit. And the play calling is horrible, and I think it really started to get exposed. Lanny had that great article about being able to predict the runs, and we all knew it. We all knew that you could see it. People were saying, "Oh, they're just haven't established an identity," or you know, some other crazy stuff. No, they've established an identity, and you can see right through it. You can see exactly what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, many times. And the run, you know, Abdullah's not this bad of a running back. I'm sorry to say he's not this bad. And it's not just offensive line woes. But when you watch them cheat on a play because they know what's coming, you need that ability to catch someone by surprise. You need them not to know what you're doing to get yourself that extra split second to develop your play and be able to, you know, possibly break out those ones. When they know what you're going to do, you just have no shot. You have no shot. And
absolutely. And you know, it's painful to watch because you'll see defenses that show like a cover 2 look,
and then right before the snap, one of their safeties flies up towards the line and puts 8 men in the box because they know it's going to be a run.
Yep.
And they just, they can, basically what they'll do is they'll bait Stafford into not audibling out of the run. They're going to make him hold the run, and then they play it perfectly because that's, the easiest thing to do.
Remember Linehan? How much we hated him and how much we wanted him out. How would you like to have him back today?
Oh man, we would have saw some more running back screens. That's for sure. That's for sure. It's definitely weird watching Stafford play like this, and it's partially on Stafford for making slow reads possibly, but it's hard to make fast reads when your offensive line is giving you no time, and one of your eyes has to go lazy so you can watch the defensive line coming at you, and you only have one eye looking downfield. But we just have so many issues that it's kind of like a crock pot of badness where we don't have wide receivers that can get open versus man, which causes our offensive coordinator to call conservative plays that don't get us any yardage, that makes Stafford look bad because he can't throw it deep down the field because there's no time to throw deep. It's just one thing leads to another.
Yeah, exactly. And it just doesn't seem to be. There's so much talent out there. There's so much talent on that field, and to see, they finally started using Riddick, and I'll be darned. Look, he's good at what he does, isn't he? Let's utilize that. Let's take advantage of that. But there's been so little use of Riddick on the field that it just boggles. So let's talk about something else. I'm gonna put something out there. I think this game is not just on Jim Bob Cooter, but it's on the coaches. That first half defense was a wreck. This team was woefully unprepared when they stepped onto that field, and I put that 100% on the coaching.
Well, at the beginning of the game, you could tell that Terrell Austin really wanted to play a tight zone where, they could try to trick Drew Brees into making a bad pass. And that's worked in the past for him, but not when you do it all the time. You could see that, they were doing a lot of handoffs, between the close zone man and the inside zone man that was just giving Brees and his wide receivers huge lanes where they would be able to get up to speed. He'd throw it in that small lane, they would catch it, and then run it for another, 5 or 6 yards. And it was just pitch and catch, and they can't allow that.
No. They can. I see a tweet, and it's got to be real. It's from Justin Rogers, so he's sarcastic at times, but Nevin Lawson is quoted as saying, "Fuck Aaron Rodgers."
Nevin Lawson is my spirit animal.
I had to rewatch. I replayed his injury hit and his cursing at the Vikings team multiple times over halftime as I kind of rocked myself in the fetal position to try to get over what I saw in the first half of this game. That's going to be helpful, but we've got an NFC North that's just a disaster right now. It's just a train wreck.
It really is. It really is. And now the Vikings are looking like possibly the top dog, and we've already beat them once. So, at worst we'll tie with them. So if we can keep our record, consistent, then we'll have a shot at this thing. Out of all the days to have this sort of Lions game, that Aaron Rodgers news, although horrible for him, and I don't ever want to see anybody get hurt. And in a football perspective, it really does help the Lions out. So it's kind of one of those weird days.
Yeah. A win today could have really. And it goes back to that horrible preparation that came out of the coaching staff, and of course there's injuries. That's an issue we have to talk about as well. But they came out on the field absolutely unprepared for this game, and it was horrible. Jim Bob Cooter and this offense again is suffering from underperformance, underachievement. It's an offense that should be able to fare far better than it has. It should be able to score more points than it has. This just isn't. Although, I mean, we did score a lot of points today, but you're going to get the garbage time comment out of that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know, man.
It is. It's just a tough spot to be in because, there's so much blame to go around. And, these are all questions that we can all pose, and we can all kind of guess as to what the answer will be. But in reality, we don't know how much of this offense actually is Jim Bob Cooter and how much of it is actually Caldwell. Right. We don't know what Caldwell dictates, if he just lets Jim Bob Cooter do Jim Bob Cooter, or if he has, hey, this is the offensive game plan I want you to call the plays that you think will work well in this, scheme that we're going to come into the game with, or, we really don't know. All we know for sure is that shit is not working. Yeah. It's not working.
And you make a really good point there with that, because I've mentioned this a couple times and haven't gone too deep on it, but it feels like, and this Cooter offense hasn't gone too far from the old Lombardi offense. Right? I mean, the runs that are giveaways are the exact same formations that Lombardi was using when he gave away the run out of his playbook. Is it Lombardi? Is it Cooter? Or, the common thread there is actually, like you said, Jim Caldwell. Is he pushing into that and putting those setups there? Because if that's the case, then this is a whole different conversation.
It's a whole different conversation. It's definitely weird as a fan when you can watch the football game occur in front of you and you know exactly what's happening. We have 3 running backs that split time, and all 3 of them do different things. We never see Amir Abdullah on goal line. We only see Zach Zenner. You know what I mean? Yeah. And when he's in there and we're in the middle of the field, it's because he's in there to block. We're not throwing passes to Zach Zenner. He's literally in there just to block. And so now teams know, passing down, easy peasy. We have Theo Riddick in there. He may block a little bit, but he doesn't block that well. So if you throw a blitz at him while Theo Riddick's in there, either he's going to go out for a pass and leave you, free at the quarterback, or, he's not that great at pass blocking and you'll just blow him up, hopefully, and get to Stafford. And that's just one of the things that causes problems. Same thing with Darren Fells. We put Darren Fells in there, and, 9 times out of 10 it's a block. When the one time he runs out, he's wide open because nobody even thinks about him, and that's where his last 3 touchdowns have come from, have him been being wide open because nobody ever thinks about him.
Yep. Yeah. So, all right, let's throw that the phone number out there and give everyone a chance to take part in the show. Phone lines are open up, 248-782-8384. That's 248-782-8384. Give us a ring. Or if you want to use Skype, you can do that as well. Detroit Lions Podcast. It's all one word, Detroit Lions Podcast. Don't worry, if you get sent to voicemail, just give us a call back and we'll get you on the show. We're doing one call at a time, and we'll take it, right? 248-782-8384. All right, so we talked a little about the coaching. We talked about the playbook. We talked about the offense. Let's talk about the defense. I think the most terrifying thing on the defense, amongst all of the injuries, is Glover Quinn.
Oh, the worst. The worst. It's literally like losing Matthew Stafford on the offensive side of the ball, in my opinion. Jared Davis is the one that's calling the plays and doing that sort of thing, but Glover Quinn is really setting everything up in front of him, and he's going to be a huge loss if this is significant in any way.
Yeah. And I mean, he's obviously in the concussion protocol at this point. He was in a completely different place when he was carted off the field there. When he was walking off the field, you could tell he was not aboard in there. So we'll see. Hopefully, it's a short-term thing. We got a call. Hey, caller, what's your name? Caller, you there?
Hello?
There you are. Hey, what's your name, man?
Hi. Hey, it's Bo. What's up, guys?
Hey, what's up, Bo?
Hey, Bo.
A modest lion.
Not much. How you guys doing?
We're kicking. It was that, even if we would have won that game, I would have been somewhat disgusted.
Yeah. I'm just personally sick of being in that fucking same position every week, where they're playing from behind as usual, or we're always just playing from behind. I just don't get it. We're always rooting for Rodgers to go down, and we're all happy when he goes down because we're too afraid to go head-to-head against Packers at their full capacity. I'm sick of it. Not that, we don't make that control. I mean, if he gets hurt, then we just have to take advantage of it. But I see people rooting for it, and now we can win the North and stuff. That's such a shitty position to be in, for all that we've been through, and all the good draft picks we've got, and, getting Stafford on this deal, everything that we've done to come to this point, and we're still hoping that we can win for injuries or through comebacks in the fourth quarter. Like, what, can we just win a fucking game straight out with, against a mediocre team? Like, the Saints are decent, but they're not, like, a great team, you know what I mean? Same with the Panthers. Like, those are winnable games where I think we could be a better team than them, but now we're getting our asses kicked. Our defense is just failing. I mean, 52 points.
That was insane.
Give me a fucking break, man.
Yeah. That was anyone who took the over this week, like me, congratulations.
Yeah, good on you. Good on you.
Yeah, the defense was just abhorrent, abysmal out there. They were absolutely trash, a dumpster ablaze. I have no idea what the hell we were looking at. And again, I blame that on coaching. They're completely unprepared. And I think part of the injury situation is how unprepared these guys are on the field and how badly they've been schemed. Now they're trying to make plays, and they're in positions where they have to stretch, run, do things that they shouldn't have to do in order to be able to make those plays. And it's just so bad. The tackling was horrible. It was just one gross, negligent disaster after another. I don't know if I have any more adjectives I can use.
At the very beginning of the game, watching our defense run was really weird to me because it looked like they were in sand.
Yeah.
They were so slow, and the whole point of our defense this year was that how much faster we were. And you could see it the first couple of weeks, how, they were flying to the ball, they were, doing their thing. But this week they just look slow, they look sluggish, and I don't know if they've got tired legs from the season already, or if they slept, without their sleep apnea machines, I don't know. But, it's just really, they looked really sluggish. And when you combine that with Terrell Austin's, for whatever reason, he seems to, underplan every single game. Like, even back when we had an awesome defense with Sue that one year, how many games did we start out looking horrible on defense and then slowly clamp down as the game went on? I think that's just kind of his MO at this point. But when you have sluggish players and sluggish coaches, you get 52 points.
Well, I have a question. Do you think the Atlanta game broke them a little bit? I mean, it's the Lions. Like, we've seen it happen before when they get fucked on a call or something like that. I feel like they have the secret meeting where they're like, should we even try? Like, we're just going to lose to the refs anyway. And then they just stop, going full 100%.
I don't think so. It's hard to say for sure, but I think, what year was that? 2015, when the Lions started out 0-6 or whatever it was, and then still kind of crawled back to it. This team's kind of different than that. It's hard to say. I would say that during the middle of this game, you could definitely tell that some players were getting lackadaisical when we were down by 35.
Yep.
But that's kind of par for course. I don't know if I'd be able to keep my heart 100% into something like that either. If I was getting smashed. Hard to say.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a joke, but at the same time, I kind of wonder too, because that does suck. I mean, they played against one of the best teams, especially at the time, what we thought was one of the best teams. Atlanta's kind of showing their true colors now. They're not top dog, I don't think. They're still a good, very good team, but they're getting beat. But not that it takes it away from us. I mean, that was a tough game no matter what. So, that we played them head-to-head like that, that was a good game. Now, I won't take that away from them at all, but I just feel like that last, you could just tell their faces at the end how fucking pissed off they were that they got screwed again, once again, with another stupid call in the rule book and whatnot. So I just had wondered maybe if that kind of just broke their spirit down where they're not going at full 100% at the beginning of the game. But I don't know. I mean, you're right. They're super resilient. They show it all the time. They come back and stuff like that. But again, that's where I was kind of coming from. I'm kind of tired of that same old story. It was cute for the first couple of years, then kind of on the edge of your seat for the next couple of years. Now it's just getting a little redundant where I'm just like, can we just fucking play a full football game for 3 quarters at least?
Can we blow somebody out? Can we blow somebody out once?
Please.
You know what I mean?
When's the last time we did that, honestly? The last one I remember was 2011, Kansas City.
Yeah.
The Saints last year, you could say that we possibly blew them out, but that was, a year ago, so...
Yeah,
that's,
we are light on convincing wins on this team still. It's too bad, but
I'm just getting sick of it, man.
Yep.
I mean, I love the adrenaline rush as much as the next person when you got those games, but come on, have some games in between where it's convincing, please.
Yep. All right, but we're gonna get going, man. We got some other people going, and I'm really quick gonna check up into the booth. I'm going to check in on that Atlanta call. I think we've got somebody ready to weigh in.
Hey, Dean Blandino here, and I can tell you unequivocally that call was 100% wrong.
There you go. You've got it. Officially lined up. He's got it. Another caller. Hey, how you doing? What's your name, caller?
Hey, I'm good. It's B-Jaws.
Hey, man. Hey, can you turn down the... I can't believe it. I'm like doing what you hear on the radio.
already doing it. How you doing,
man? I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm really
I'm calling in just because of the last conversation you guys just had about the defense.
Yeah.
And you guys kept on talking about 52 points. Well, we got to remember that it's actually 38 points because 14 of the points is literally on the offense with a strip from Stafford and the interception from Stafford. So when we talk about the defense, we got to actually put it into the context of what they did. And with the Haloti out and injuries and just like really decimated linebacker core, we couldn't expect a lot from the defense, but I think that they held their own in the sense of being on the field for most of the game. I mean, we couldn't stop the Saints offense, but we definitely couldn't get first down on offense. So, I don't know, we're talking about the defense of how they have really not shown up this game, but I just think that even though they weren't good, I think if the offense was on the field like they could have been, if they lived up to their potential, then it would have been a lot closer than it was.
No, you are 100% right with that. 14 points scored by their defense. The fact that they repeated the Ashawn interception touchdown on us, that I could never have written that, even if I was writing a script. I couldn't imagine that happening in the world. Oh my God, that was so, when that happened. That's when I really felt like it was over. That was the point when we can't do this now.
Exactly, and I don't know. I just think that it kind of goes back to our playoff loss against the Saints a couple of years ago. What is that? 4 years ago, 5 years ago now, where our defense would kind of bend and then break in the late third, fourth period. They would break for sure, but they would keep us in the game long enough to where our offense would have the potential to have us either in the lead or at least tied, but they couldn't live up to it, and it's disappointing. And I think that goes on Stafford. I mean, obviously the O-line wasn't playing their best, but the strip sack in the first period that went for a touchdown, and then the strip fumble recovery, I think that was in the first period as well. I don't know. I just think that doesn't happen if Stafford actually has the awareness that he should have. I mean, obviously, I think he's the best quarterback we've had, but I don't know. I just think he's not living up to his potential.
I think
it's hard to have the awareness that you need in situations like that when you have almost zero time and are like limited in your mobility. Now that first touchdown strip sack was bad. There's no getting around that.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean you have to be able to do something, but at the same time, when you're in the pocket, you can't really just toss the ball out, and we don't know what the coverage look like downfield, but that's 100% on him. But all these strip sacks, he's been sacked 18 times. I could definitely give him the benefit of the doubt.
I can definitely give him the benefit of doubt if you get look at it from an individual play standpoint. But it's just been a couple of weeks in a row where he's just not getting the ball out. And I don't know, maybe that is on Jim Bob Cooter. I'm not sure, but I just think that there's something wrong with his anticipation and his timing in the pocket.
Well, I will say, so I tweeted this out mid-game, but when you watch our offense run, Jim Bob Cooter likes to run a lot of slow developing routes. And by that, I mean he likes to run like out and ups or, double move type routes that are 10 to 15 yards downfield if it's not, just a quick out. And what ends up happening is that because our wide receivers are having such a hard time getting separation at all, by the time Stafford gets through his first read, he's 2 seconds in to his 4-second time that he's given. And so he goes to a second guy and he's covered and then he's sacked. And a lot of that is on, Jim Bob Cooter and part of it's on Stafford. I don't know how much he can audible out of that stuff, but, we really haven't moved the ball closer to us. We haven't had a lot of short passing routes. We haven't even had enough long passing routes to slow down, the safeties from jumping on stuff. Really, it's kind of an all-in-one deal where I think Stafford just doesn't have enough time, / his guys aren't getting open, / he's regressed a little bit based on injuries and lack of trust in his O-line.
And you got to give
quick, one last.
You got to give Stafford credit. I mean, everyone's saying pull him out. I believe what we were seeing out there, especially when he took the rib shot. They were trying to pull him to the sideline. He was like, "Fuck you." He like waved him off. He looked at him and he waved him off again, and then he wouldn't even look to the sideline anymore. He wouldn't listen to them. Now, this could turn out bad, right? Because if you don't listen to your coach, and it can be. But this is the thing. This is a case of him being the bad mofo that he is, right? The tough guy that he is. But at some point, you got to think about that. Was it good to leave him in the game or allow him to stay in the game? Well, we almost came back, right? He took a couple more hits, though. So I don't know. That's Stafford's the man.
Right,
but
exactly.
That's command and control there. You got to get that handled.
I agree with it. I mean, Stafford, I wanted to keep him in the game. And I don't put everything on Stafford. I just think that he needs to up his game. If you would ask me the number one issue with him, it would be 1A would be Jim Cooter, and then 1B would be Marvin Jones. I just don't think he can get open. And when he does get open or he does touch the ball, it bounces right off his hands. I don't think we have a number one wide receiver. So, I don't know. I just think that he's kind of the issue on top of the OC.
I think you're right. And really quick, we don't have a number one wide receiver, but I think this offense is actually based on not having one. And it's schematically the way they just need Kenny Galladay's size and speed out there, and that's what's going to get these guys open. That's what I believe is the missing piece. And of course the offensive line is just a mess. Right. But I think that's the piece.
Thanks, guys.
Yep, no problem.
Thanks.
I think the wide receivers open each other up, if that makes sense.
And that's 100% true. And, we definitely don't have a number one wide receiver. And Golden Tate, I think, would be who I would consider our number one wide receiver at this point. But let's be honest about Golden Tate. Where he gets his yards is not where a traditional number one wide receiver gets his. Nope. So what teams are allowed to do is they're allowed to put their number two cornerback on Golden Tate, and if he wins, Golden Tate wins. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But that allows them to almost completely shut down half the field because Marvin Jones is most definitely not going to beat your number one cornerback consistently at all. And that means that Stafford just can't spend much time looking his way. He had a couple games last year where he got, the 200 yards receiving, and that was kind of a fluke on a few really big plays that he just happens to get. But we really don't have any downfield stretchers. We have no wide receivers that help other wide receivers get open other than maybe Galladay, but we really haven't seen it yet. So, fingers crossed on him, but it's not a good-looking wide receiver room right now, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. A couple things out of the chat here. I want to add Jiggly Scrub. He said the fucking Bears could win the division. I told him to shut his whore mouth, and he thought I was being serious. I was just messing with him. But actually, after what happened today and what's all blowing out, there's actually a possibility. That Trubisky kid is I laughed and laughed and laughed at them in the draft, but he doesn't look terrible. He could wind up being a pretty good quarterback, and the Bears with a good quarterback are a little bit scary, although they don't have any receivers. But also out of the chat here, where did that go? Could end up being an NFC East kind of division this year, where a 500 team winds up taking the division. And I feel good about us being that 500 team. So hopefully, we just got to get those divisional wins. Those are going to be important. And then lastly, out of the chat, Hattori Hanzo, as a sympathetic gesture to Green Bay, let's give him Greg Robinson. I'm about ready to. I am about ready to. I had high hopes that he would bounce back and help us out, but he just has not materialized in the way that I really expected or wanted him to. I thought this whole last chance thing for him was going to be a good deal.
I thought we just needed somebody serviceable. And, towards the end of preseason, he was looking serviceable. And that's not anymore. No. Not anymore.
We are joined by the one and only Case. Case, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, my audio working?
You sound kind of tinny.
Well, I'm just going to have to deal with that today, I think.
You have a tough day here,
I apologize for my tardiness. I don't know how much you guys have talked about it, but I mean, obviously the one major weird thing is the 12 batted passes. Holy crap.
13, I think the number was.
13. and if you were watching the Fox broadcast as I was, they commented on it several times. They were one away, if they was at 13, from tying an NFL record. Which, I mean, speaking of other NFL records that they were close to breaking today, was that had they successfully made the comeback, they would have set the new record for the most amount of points overcome. But
the batted pass thing was absurd. Every time it happened, I thought, wow, that's, inconvenient, because that happens once or twice a game, but it's almost like they spent the entire last week with the defensive linemen, like, just batting tennis balls out of tennis ball machines, it was insanity. It's almost like they knew where Stafford's throwing lanes were going to be, and when they knew they couldn't get there, they just had to put their paws in that general direction, and they were going to get it.
There was a whole big thing made this last week. We had the article. Was it Ash, or who was it who had the article about the predictability?
It was Sean.
Sean had the article. It was a great article about the predictability, and so I do think that was definitely a factor. And the number of passes we have at around the line of scrimmage, not downfield, was a big part of that. However, I mean, even on passes downfield, there were batted passes. That is a truly bizarre thing that I have never seen something like that before. I think, we had a good team last year in terms of batting passes. Robinson, was awesome at it. They had more today than I think we had all year.
Yeah, you're right. And Robinson, I mean, I just have to tell you, he was absolutely amazing with that bat. And I'm pretty proud. I had a tweet that I put out there that was pretty much what's it called? It was basically hey Sean, I love you. I'll have your children. Something along those lines. That interception was massive. It was.
It really was.
Oh, here it is.
It really was.
I love you, Sean. I always will. Take me.
He would take you if he wanted.
Oh,
I don't think that's the question.
I'd be willing. I'll bear his children somehow or another. Hey, Case.
I think Case fell into his tin can.
Hey, sorry guys.
Yeah,
is that a little better?
That is better. Yes.
Okay. One of the other things that was super weird in this game, when you look at the Lions' defense going through the whole year, is how little pressure we got off the right side. I don't know, and I wasn't keying in when I was watching it, so I'll have to do a little review, and I'll have to talk to some people, et cetera. But Zettel and Cornwash, no effect on this game.
No.
And that's strange to me because I expected them to have significant impact here. So that was a big surprise to me. It was like Robinson was the only defensive line guy to show up today. And that surprised me because even though they're not, the best group in the league or anything like that, they've certainly been much better than they were today.
Yeah, actually Cornelius Washington was inactive today.
Oh, okay.
But he was a healthy scratch from what I could tell. So that's even weirder.
So weird. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, like he must have, took a mean shit on the bus or something on the way of the game, and Caldwell got mad at him or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he was a healthy scratch. But the amount of pressure that we're producing is like so horrible that I can't really wrap my head around it.
It's because
it's so bad that there's no way that we can win with that amount of pressure. It will take like a Herculean effort from our offense or takeaways, which is what we've been doing up till this point, and even this game.
They still had, yeah. It wasn't like we were completely devoid in that area today. It just outweighed.
Yeah, it's just like the only way that we're stopping drives is with takeaways, it feels like. Because we're not getting sacks, we're not forcing teams into second and longs, third and longs. You know, it's becoming a really, really big issue, and Ziggy Ansah has not looked very good this year.
No, he
at
hasn't.
all.
And I talked about it in the podcast, on Wednesday, that it does not look good for the team carrying Ziggy on why would you spend the money to franchise tag a player who's not performing? I said, I love the guy, I really do. As a player, as a person, he's great, but this is not a good look for our defense right now, and we've talked about what is clearly, a number one need for the Lions, because generally speaking, the Lions are not super crazy deficient at a lot of starting positions. Obviously, the left tackle issue is an issue, but we're assuming Decker is going to be back at some point, hopefully after the bye. But I mean, going in, so if we're looking right now, a lot of people, if you're into the draft and if you're into that stuff, be looking at those defensive ends that are going to be available in the draft, because that will not be a huge surprise if that is where they go, or in free agency if they decide to spend big money to bring somebody in. So
yeah, and big wide receiver that can get separation. I mean, those are obviously two huge needs right now, and maybe a safety. After what happened to Glover, that was kind of ugly. Here, we'll light up the lines again here. 248-782-8384. That's 248-782-8384. Give us a call. Or you can use the old Skype machine. That's Detroit Lions Podcast. All one word, Detroit Lions Podcast. Get a chance to call the show. We'll get you on. We'll talk about it. We'll be your therapy dogs. We'll help you out here. Got a call right now, and it's a Skype one. I know who it is. Hey, Trev. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, it's Punk Rockin' Trev. So, heard you guys talking about the draft. So, when do we want to start digging into it? Is the season over? Are we giving up?
We're going 8-8, and I said that early in the offseason. My numbers got a little inflated, with the hype, but I'm back to 8-8. So we're mid-round pick. That's where we're looking.
I was like 14-2, and then I usually kind of work back from there as the season goes on.
The thing is, we could still win the division with 8 wins right now. So
yeah, we're undefeated in the division.
Yep.
So the one thing you guys are talking about, pressure, it's bad. And I remember thinking at this draft, when we were going into this draft, thinking we need defensive tackles, we need defensive ends, we need at least one more game record in there to go with Ziggy Ansah. And then we made some signings, and we signed Cornwash, and we signed Akeem Spence. And
we didn't know that Hyder was going to be hurt either. That was,
right. And then we get into this position where we're like, oh man, we're pretty good. We might not need a draft there, and our defense surprises the hell out of us at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And then this is what I was expecting. We're like a first to second round pick away on that defensive line. I used to be the biggest Ziggy. I still am a big Ziggy Ansah fan, but he's a ghost. What happened to that monster that used to be at the end of our defensive line?
Yeah,
I don't know if it's injury or he's just fallen off. I don't know what's happened, but you're right. He's disappeared. He's completely.
Yeah, he used to be good for a sack or two a game.
Yeah, it felt like that, or at least a few pressures. But yeah, no, he's been so inept at his position that I almost want to just pull him out and put somebody in there that's actually going to have some more effort than he's done. He runs past the quarterback and then he's out of the play for the rest of the play, and that's kind of been his MO this year.
Yeah, we just it's so frustrating to see. There's a specific set of teams that if you can't get any pressure like we didn't today, they will destroy you. Mm-hmm. And New Orleans is one of them. If Drew Brees, if you get people in his face, you can make him screw up, you can make him throw interceptions, and you can handle him. But if you can't get people in his face, he'll sit back there like Aaron Rodgers and pick you apart all day long. And that's what they did today.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help that we can't our wonderful secondary that's played so well the whole year, we can't get a tackle. We're taking bad angles. We're letting we're letting anyone who catches the ball run another 5 to 7 yards up the field before we can even slow them down. It's, yeah. And beyond that, like, I just wanted to say that in the game thread today, I saw a lot of sad Sallies in there that need to hike up their skirts because it's a long season and the easier part of the schedule.
I thought you were going to say they need to hike up their skirts for some different reason, but okay.
No, it's funny. Sleeves. We'll put it that way.
It's funny that you mention pressure the way that you did, because in the past we would see Austin doing cool things with pressure, right? He would put Ansah at defensive tackle. He would run a lot of stunts, and we're seeing none of that this year. None of that. It's like they're too afraid to put their linebackers out, in space against offensive linemen, so that they, just can't manufacture pressure even if they wanted to.
I've seen a few stunts go through inside where they'll send Ziggy inside on a loop, and they'll throw Nada out and try to hit the tackle. And that works when you have two guys that are really good, that know what they're doing, and they have their timing down. But now we're so banged up and ineffectual up there that I think if we try to run stuff like that, they would just blow it up.
They would absolutely blow it up, and that's definitely part of the part of the issue, is that we're hamstrung by the talent that we're left with on the field.
Yeah,
and so we're sitting in a situation 3-3 going into the bye, and thank God we have a bye. So the big question is, and I don't know the answer to this, and I'm not saying I don't think anybody has the answer to this. I know a lot of people have opinions on it, but I don't know what team we're going to see on the other side. I don't know, because I don't know if we have Decker. I don't know if we have Lang and Wagner. I don't know if if the defensive line can show up again like they were earlier in the year. I don't know. This is a lot of friggin' questions right now, and I don't know if Glover Quinn. I mean, if he had a concussion, obviously we've seen concussions knock people out for multiple weeks. We've seen them not, knock them out for even a week. So I'm sitting here at this moment in time with no idea what's going on.
I'll tell you what, until I hear or until I have more evidence, I think the team that's going to come out on the other side of that break is going to be a Super Bowl team.
Hey, I'm down for that.
That is the glass of Kool-Aid I needed. That is the glass of Kool-Aid I needed.
I was a little disheartened to see that everyone was giving up after the first quarter, even though in the game thread today, everyone was just hanging heads after the end of one quarter. And we battled back and actually made it a game. It wasn't pretty.
And then as soon as Stafford got his rib hurt, I was like, well, there's a chance. Because I know that until Stafford bleeds or is bruised or whatever, like, he's a different guy afterwards. And it's so funny that he is that way. And in some ways it's limiting that he is that way, because, they don't take risks until he gets pissed off. And then they take risks. But
after that glorious A'Shawn Robin touchdown, the fat man touchdown we've been waiting for since Big Baby Sean Rogers.
Yeah. Oh, I was so sad we didn't get a safety, by the way. I was so sad we didn't get a safety, because I want that streak to continue, but it was close. Sure. It was really freaking close.
But at that point, we had like 5 minutes left in the game, and we were down one touchdown. And there's something weird about how this team works, that they buckle down under adversity and come back, and they battle back and they don't quit. But if we're down 35 points, then it makes it really hard to come back.
and there were people quitting. And that's what I think. I mean, that may be the difference in this game. There were some guys that were giving up and playing, as Salmon said, lackadaisically out there. And had they stayed tight and believed, I think we could have done what we did to those Saints earlier and putting ourselves in a much better position.
Yeah.
I think our defense clamped down a bit, but offense, we had a three-way combination of Stafford losing his mobility because he's hurt.
Yeah.
You have the offensive line that's just, I mean, even those guys, the guys that came into the game weren't bad. Like, They weren't any. They certainly weren't any worse than our starters were in the first couple of quarters.
Yeah, I wouldn't say not bad, but I would say not worse than what we had in there originally. I would say.
Yeah. So their offensive line.
Go ahead. Sorry.
It's just. I'll wrap it up. There's like three reasons that conspired to kill us on offense. Stafford can't move. Our receivers can't get open to save their lives, and the offensive line cannot block. And our running backs cannot block. If you go back and watch the film, I swear you'll see a running back every play get pushed right back into Stafford and not be able to hold their ground.
Actually, the funny thing on that point is that I think Riddick actually had a couple good blocks, which I have criticized him heavily for in the past. Riddick is playing like super well, which is crazy to me because like I was very critical of him in a lot of ways, and they're just not using him. Yeah. So now I have no idea what's going on because like I think he's playing the best football he's ever played, and they're not using him. So I don't get it.
Maybe they'll use him on our Super Bowl run after the bye week.
Right.
There you go. All right, Trev, thanks a lot for calling, man. I'm going to let you go here really quick.
All right, love you guys.
Love you too, buddy.
Thanks.
All right, so yeah, that's a couple things. I want to praise a couple guys, and look, we bagged on Marvin Jones for his inability to separate.
I wanted to do the same thing,
and he did not get separation all day, but that one-handed grab. I mean, this is a game that was full of just amazingness, right? Things that just could blow your mind at any different point in time. Multiple things like this, and all packed into a single game. It's freaking crazy. But that one-handed grab that Marvin made was frigging credible. And then also, we found the trick for completing passes to Eric Ebron. You just have to deflect them off of the other
right.
team.
You have to get lobbed up in the air. Yep.
and then the second effort he made and the stretch, I was like, holy shit, Ebron.
Every once in a while, man, like he's got that in his bag, and we should know he has that in his bag. It just doesn't come out every week.
Right. He just needs to keep his sack out, man. He'd go pants free, and he'd be out there ripping it.
Before we move on, though, there's another thing I want to talk about on Marvin Jones, and this won't show up on his stat sheet, and so he is probably one of the best receivers in the league at pulling defensive pass interference, and he has done it consistently for us, and it does not show up on his stat sheet. But he had what was it, like a 50-yard, 40-yard, like non-completion, but they got the defensive pass interference that moved him down the field. That set them up in a way that if they had been able to take advantage of it, could have won the game. So, like, dog on Marvin Jones, I get that, believe me, but and I know I've been in his corner more than maybe I should, but at the same time, it's all. I don't know, and I don't know if they track this, anywhere tracks this, so it's difficult to find out how many defensive pass interferences have been called on plays where the ball was thrown towards Marvin Jones. And in fact, I would say there were several in this game that could have been called that weren't called as well. This was
a really, really weird game in that regard for penalties. There was a ton of calls that could have been called and weren't, and then some just odd like oh, okay, they're letting that go, and then they'd call one. It didn't make sense to me. It was weird, and I don't even want to say it was inconsistent. It just didn't make sense. It didn't make sense at all. So, all right, so let me hit the number one more time here. We're gonna go about another 10 minutes, unless you guys pummel us with calls. It's area code 248-782-8384. That's 248-782-8384. Or you can hit us on. Oops. Or you can hit us on. Go ahead and.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah. Hey, hold on 1 second, okay, Remy?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. So yeah, 248-782-8384, and you just give us a call, and we'll get it all together. This is weird. Skype just broke. There, you there, Remy?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. How you doing, man? Sorry about that. Had a little bit of a Skype issue.
I'm not doing great.
What's wrong?
You know, I wanted to win against Green Bay in 2 weeks, but I didn't want it like this.
You didn't want to... you know, I get that. I totally understand that part of it, but I think it's just part of the deal, right? We're going to face them minus a whole bunch of our players, right? We may face them without Glover or anybody else. It's just part of the deal. We beat them with Rodgers. It's okay. If that's how we have to get in, I'm not as uptight about that as I used to be. We'll just beat them when we beat them, and whatever shape either one of our team's rosters are in is the shape we're in, and we'll move on from there. It's frustrating. It's frustrating to watch all these high profile guys go down, but you just have to play on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let me ask you: were you screaming for Rudock in the third quarter, or was that just me?
No, I was. My thing was, I was watching Stafford not want to go off the field, and I felt like, oh God, if he gets hurt, it was one of those things, right? I was probably when it came to decision making on that, I was frozen because he wanted to be out there and he wanted to play the game, and he was not going to let them call him in, and he was telling them to pound sand when they were trying to get him in after that shot to the ribs, and he stayed out and he played, and it's like, God, he's our guy, right? And Mad Stafford is the best Stafford. So I wanted him in, but it wasn't working. It just wasn't going to work. So
I hear you, man. I appreciate the stoppage of the messages, but I kept getting the phone messages after calling 4-0 after the Falcons game.
Oh yeah, that was so hilarious. So the timing on your message, and okay, so for folks who don't know this, so Remy, sorry, I didn't realize that was you. So at the end of the Atlanta game, Remy called and left a message, 3-0 bitches, right? and it was like, when I got the message, it was after we lost the game. He had called prematurely before we had lost the game and said that. So I thought it was an Atlanta guy calling and giving us shit because they were 3-0. So I texted him back some shit about the Falcons, and then the next week I texted him again. I'm like, this guy, he's an idiot because he left us his number when he called us, and I was able to beat him up over it. And then he texted me back. He said, I don't know why I became a Falcons fan, but whatever. It's funny because after the Seattle game, we had some douchebags from Seattle call, and they hid their number and did that. Every now and then we get calls from other teams that leave messages, and it's they always hide, right? And I thought, I finally got one.
I don't know enough about that, man.
All right, Remy, I'm going to let you go, man. I'm going to get the other guys on. Have a good one. Thanks for calling, dude.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
All right, have a good one. All right, we're going to get back at it here. Let's see if we can make this all work. This is Skype is wonderful. All right, I think we're all back here. Case, how you doing?
Yeah. We were just talking off. Like Sandman and I were having a discussion without you guys. And here's what I'm looking at in terms of our schedule, and why I say 8-8 is a likely outcome, and why I still think that 8-8 could win the division. First of all, it's about the Packers, and I mean that both Packers games are now theoretically winnable, as opposed to probably definitely not winnable. It changes everything. It doesn't matter if this team is not a great team, if everyone else that we play this year also sucks. And the truth of the matter is the rest of the NFC North sucks. The AFC North sucks. The Buccaneers suck. So getting to 8-8 isn't going to be like this amazing accomplishment or anything, but it is a real possibility. With it, and even if you want to say the Panthers and Falcons aren't as good as we want to believe they are, because obviously they both had losses this week, and especially the Falcons to Miami, which what the fuck. Like, even if you want to say that our schedule so far hasn't been that good, we could easily go. I mean, 5-5 is like, I think that's about as realistic an outlook as you can get right now until we see what comes out of the the other side of the bye, and that could change everything, because if they come out on the other side of the bye looking like a competent team, they could win more. If they look like the exact same team they look like now, they could win less, and so I'm kind of hedging my bets there. This whole thing with Aaron Rodgers is it's stupid because, well, what's frustrating about it, and this is like kind of petty. Why can't he get hurt in a year where the Lions are actually good?
No, that's typical Lions luck, right?
Why is that? Like, every time he gets hurt, like, it looks like the door is wide open for us, but we're, not a good team. So,
and as we, just to reiterate, and we do this often, but we're not happy that he got hurt as a person, right?
No,
but we are certainly happy that something happened that helps the Lions, and
we are pragmatic.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And Jiggly Scrub in the chat has probably the most relevant comment of all, and it still burns when I think about it. But ever since Matt Flynn, I will never take a game against the Packers for granted.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. I say they're both winnable. That doesn't mean I say we'll win both of them.
Right. Mm-hmm. and you got Pittsburgh right now, who we're coming out of the bye against. They're beating Kansas City, who is power ranked #1 across all of the power rankings everywhere you go.
Pittsburgh is a team that's almost as weird as the Lions in that they are elite sometimes, and they are terrible sometimes. So that is a total toss up of a game. I would picture that as a loss for us, but you never know. You absolutely never know what team you're getting with the Steelers until you're actually there with them. So.
Yep, and we'll have a special guest on the podcast ahead of the Steelers game. Somebody you guys may know who's a good insider with Steelers info. So we got a good guest coming for that. That's going to be good. Let's talk a little bit. I do want to pat myself on the back a little bit here, speaking kind of on and off about Cooter. I had another nice tweet that I was proud of, and I just want to share it here for those who don't Twitter. Cooter's moves are so predictable that I expect to read about him drunk climbing through a woman's window and hopping in her bed again.
John Kitna's going to wear him as his Halloween costume?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. And then one other thing I do want to talk about, and I'll hit the number one last time, and then we'll talk about this and maybe close out from there. 248-782-8384, area code 248-782-8384, or Detroit Lions Podcast via Skype. It's all one word. I do want to just really quickly touch on Dean Blandino. Did you guys see the silver and blue tie he was wearing? Did you see?
He was full out rocking it. He was rocking it hard.
And I could tell, I almost I was hoping that he'd shout out to us. I knew he wasn't going to, but I was sitting there kind of hoping maybe. But no, he certainly was. He's aware that he's trying not to be on Lions' bad side. So when they brought him in to discuss calls, he was. He was honest and he was fair, and I think you can expect that from him in general. But he was also he was erring a little on the side of the Lions when he was talking about stuff. So he knows.
Did you see his tweet where he said, "If this Lions game goes on any longer, I'm going to run out of Verners"?
No, I didn't. That's great.
Oh man! So I'll just let you guys know we're not done with Dean yet. We're still we got more to come. We'll just leave it there. And he's really trying. That's all I'm gonna say. He's really trying. And having met with him and talked to him on and off the show, he really is a good guy. You know what I mean? He was, and it's one of those things we talked a little bit about it about getting past the guy and to his job, kind of a thing. Wouldn't you agree, Case? I mean, he was just absolutely gracious, a wonderful person, and it's just something. It's just weird to have this guy who was just so, he was the focus of so much attention, and I don't know that it was him specifically, although he did own those officials.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did. And to put up with our nonsense on the podcast was, a pretty big feather in his hat too. So, he played along with everything we wanted him to, and that I can't not respect that. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yep, for sure. All right, that's it. We're good. No more calls coming in. Sandman, you want to close out your thoughts on the game?
I have no good thoughts on this game, but what I will say is that this bye is a perfect opportunity for Jim Bob Cooter and Caldwell to kind of show that they have at least acknowledged that there is a problem. And so I have hopes that over these next 2 weeks, we will see an upgrade to personnel deployments and maybe see some new wrinkles that we haven't seen yet in kind of showing us that they, see the same things that we do.
Absolutely. Case, where you at, man? Are you standing on the ledge?
Well, no, I see it as a reboot, like Sandman mentioned. This is a perfect time in the season for us. I'm glad we don't have to play any more games before the bye, because I think we lose basically everything we play right now. So we have the bye week to reboot, to rethink, and it won't be the first time, even with the conservative style that we've seen out of Caldwell, it won't be the first time that we see something change. So I agree that I have hopes. Whether or not they come to fruition is not certain. So,
and for everybody after his head, I'll just tell you right now, Jim Bob Cooter won't be gone before the end of the season. So just
no, he won't.
Don't get your hopes up, folks. It's just the way it's going to be. So this is your team. Let's see if they can. Let's see if they can do it. So that's going to do it for this week's show. Sandman, Case, thanks for joining, guys. Appreciate you being on here. Next week, guys, we're going to do a show. It's going to be a companion show. It's the bye week, but we're still watching football. Come on, hang out with us. We're going to do a live show, react to the game, and it's kind of going to be just a little bit similar to the draft party, where we're sitting around drinking beers and just talking about the game with friends, and we'll do calls and the whole 9 yards. You guys can come along for the ride. It should be fun. We'll pick a game and we'll go to town. So more info on that in the podcast this week, and of course on Twitter. Don't forget, this show needs your involvement. Use the comments in the subreddit to give us your feedback. You guys are the ones that make us the #1 Detroit Lions podcast. It's your feedback that helps us to get better. Don't forget about us on Patreon, patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast, patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast, or just go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com and click on the Patreon link. All you folks that donate, we appreciate it greatly. And you guys, you can donate anywhere from $1 to unending amount of money a month, and it helps support the show and helps us do all these things like we do with getting these guests and doing some of the other stuff. But I am flying to California, I'll tell you that much. So anyway, check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/The Detroit Lions Podcast. That's facebook.com/The Detroit Lions Podcast. And make sure to follow us on the Twitter machine. That's at DET Lions Podcast, at DET Lions Podcast. It's the very best place to see Case
with no pants on,
and Sandman
with extra no pants on.
Don't forget about the shop link on the website. Click on that, and those guys will give us a kickback. It's a great place to get all your Lions gear, college gear, hockey gear, baseball, whatever you want to get. It's the official real deal stuff. Also, you can get yourself some great tickets from SeatGeek. Go ahead and pick your seat so someone doesn't pick it for you. And also Amazon. If you're ever going to go to Amazon, stop by DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Click on that shop link, and it'll take you straight to Amazon. It puts a little cookie there that gives us a kickback based on your purchases, and it helps us out. You can help us out by doing something you're going to do anyway. Don't forget, DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Great articles, great content, and the kind of stuff that makes your toes tingle. Subscribe to the podcast there and get your Lions fix there all the time. And when you do that subscription, we're going to come in your little box automatically. Thank you for tuning in.
Just the tip.
I promise. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to see you next time on the Detroit Lions Podcast. It's your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection.
Let's bring it in here together. Let's go. Let's go, baby. Lions on 3. 1, 2, 3. Lions!